Good morning, everyone. We're going to do something a little different for the next couple days on Better News Daily. Because this weekend commemorates Jesus' death and resurrection, today and tomorrow we are going to specifically look at Jesus' last days as he makes his way to the cross. So today, we're going to spend some time reflecting on Gethsemane, and then tomorrow we'll look at Calvary. And then Monday we'll be back to the normal randomizing bit. Okay? So, for now, let's turn our minds to Gethsemane. And to start, let me show you a picture of what Gethsemane looks like today. What you're looking at here is the Kidron Valley, which is situated between the walls of Jerusalem, which is off to the left. The walls that you see on the left aren't really the walls of the city. Those are walls that are just there for terraces. But then as you go off to the right, you have the Mount of Olives. And the Kidron Valley lies between these two high points, Jerusalem and the Temple and the Mount of Olives. During the time of Jesus, this valley was full of olive tree groves, kind of like what you see in the picture here, except imagine more. In fact, Jesus and his disciples most likely walked right through this portion of the valley that you're looking at to get to Gethsemane. The traditional spot for Gethsemane is marked by the big church that you see in the middle right top of this picture. Pretty much every spot of sacred importance in the Holy Land is stamped with a massive church, which is annoying if you ask me. But this church has kept an ancient olive tree garden on its property. And here's a picture of what it looks like inside that church area. Unfortunately, this little garden is now right alongside a very busy road, so good luck having a prayerful moment inside of it. But it is cool. The trees on this site are close to 1,000 years old, which is really remarkable. Anyways, just a visual for you as we read about Gethsemane from the Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus goes into this valley with his disciples after sharing one last meal with them. And if you've been following with the story, Jesus has made the mood of this whole Passover week really ominous for them. He's talked about how he's going to die a number of times already. And at dinner, he says that one of the disciples is going to betray him. He does this strange symbolic parallel between the bread and the wine and his body and blood. And then on the way out from dinner, he tells Peter that he's going to deny that he even knows him that very night. I mean, Jesus has been sort of dark and foreboding before, but this is uncharacteristically bleak even for him. So we pick up in verse 36. Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, that'd be James and John, along with him. So Jesus takes his inner circle with him, those three. And do you remember the last time these three were singled out to go with Jesus a little bit further? It was also at the Mount of Olives, but it was for the Transfiguration. So last time they came a little further with Jesus, they saw his divinity like never before. But this time, they're about to see his humanity like never before. So the three come with Jesus, and Jesus began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." This is incredible. Jesus, who always seems to be emotionally in control in every story, is now just crippled by anxiety. Wow. Going a little further, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. These guys. "Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour?" he asked Peter. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed the third time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners." This story is just incredible. And I'm tempted to just let you sit with the words and reflect on what they might mean for you, because this story is powerful enough without me adding anything to it. But I do want to draw something out of this story about what it means to handle emotions in a walk of faith. So let me read a quote to you, and I want you to guess who said these words. "I call, I cling, I want, and there is no one to answer. No one on whom I can cling. No, not one. No, no one. Alone. Where is my faith? Even deep down, right in there is nothing but emptiness and darkness. My God, how painful is this unknown pain. I have no faith. When I try to raise my thoughts to heaven, there is such convicting emptiness that those very thoughts return like sharp knives and hurt my very soul. I am told God loves me, and yet the reality of darkness and coldness and emptiness is so great that nothing touches my soul." So, do you know who said this? Mother Teresa. Here was a woman of incredible faith and charity and love, yet her inner emotions, at least at one point, reached an incredibly dark level of despair. A tunnel with no light at the end of it. And what I want to communicate to you is this. That's okay. If you're a Christian, doubt and heartache are okay. Not just because Mother Teresa felt this way, but because Jesus also felt this way. As you read about Jesus's grief and fear and anguish in Gethsemane, I hope that it frees you from the pressure that many people feel placed on them by Christianity to always be happy. Hear me on this. To have days or weeks or even whole seasons of life where you feel empty or grieved or worried does not show that you have a lack of faith. It's how you process through these emotions that shows your faith. And so with that in mind, I want to share with you 3 things that I noticed that Jesus does in Gethsemane that can be helpful for you when you go through your own dark moments in life. First thing, he tells God his fears. You notice that Jesus doesn't mask what he's feeling before God. Jesus verbalizes what burdens him. He names it. And he isn't afraid to tell God that he wants it to be taken away from him. You aren't a person of stronger faith by bottling up your emotions and pretending that everything is okay. Name your pain and take it directly to God. Second thing that Jesus does, he wakes up his friends. Jesus understands the power of prayer. He knows how much he needs his friends right in this moment. Now, unfortunately, they don't come through for him, but the principle still remains. When you're going through a difficult time emotionally, whether that's feelings of grief or anger or loneliness, whatever, wake up your friends. Reach out. Even Jesus needed other people. And finally, third thing, Jesus prioritizes faith over feelings. This is so key. In the end, despite how real and crippling and inescapable the emotions are that Jesus is feeling, he doesn't let those things redefine his faith. Not my will, but yours be done. And I won't lie, this is the hardest step. I think that there's a reason that Jesus has to repeat these words of surrender 3 times to God. It's hard. But do you want to know the real power of this story in Gethsemane? When you are overwhelmed and hurting, Jesus is not just with you, you are with Jesus. Do you get what I mean by that? Jesus is no stranger to the fear and heartache of the human condition. He knows it, and he knows it to a degree and depth that we never will. And so you can come with your burden to a God who knows your experience. There's so much to this story, but to wrap up, can I leave you with a little etymology? I'm sure that was just what you're hoping for. So the word emotion comes from the Latin word emovere, which is a word that means to move. And I show you this because it highlights something really true. Our emotions move us. The question is, where are they taking us? Here's my question I want to leave with you. Where are your emotions moving you? Do they move you to react in unhealthy ways, or do they move you to God? When life gets hard, are you moved to suppress your feelings or to lash out with them, or are you moved to surrender them to the God who knows exactly what it's like to be in your shoes? When Jesus felt overwhelmed, it moved him to prayer. It moved him to ask for help. And it's my prayer that you would have a similar response. Tomorrow, we are going to spend some time reflecting on Calvary. We're going to do something quite a bit different. So like our Facebook page, subscribe to this channel so that you can make sure to get that in your feed. Have a wonderful rest of your day.